Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Priscilla and I'm from Pretty and Pate, and I like to crochet and I'm also sewing a bunch, as you can see here. I am going to show you guys a small tutorial on how to make a ruffle zipper pouch similar to this. So it is quilted, and then there is a ruffle and a zipper. So this one, super cute. So this is basically what we will be making today, but in just this fabric. This is the small size. I do have a pattern for this pattern, like a written pattern if you're interested. The written pattern will be available on my Etsy. I believe I should have it linked below in the description. But let's go ahead and get started with some materials that you do need. I may put them on the screen here somewhere of measurements. So for the small size, you'll need, well, for both sizes rather, you need 2 pieces of the main fabric for what you want on the outside, 2 pieces for the liner. You'll need 2 binding strips for the zipper, and then you'll also need a huge long strip for the ruffle. So if you're anything like me, sometimes I don't usually have like a long enough piece of like a long strip of fabrics like so. What you can do is you can actually just join smaller pieces of fabric together. I believe I did that on this one, and there might be just a small little seam where your ruffle is, but I honestly can't really notice it. If I didn't show you that, you probably wouldn't have been able to see it. So I had to put 2 pieces together to make this strip long enough for this pouch. So if you don't have a long enough strip for your ruffle strip, that's totally fine. Just connect a few pieces together. Basically by doing that is you'll just take the pieces that you have, put them right sides together, and you'll sew about maybe a 1/4 inch seam on the raw edge. You'll flip it open, and then your strip will get longer and longer, so you'll continue that on and on. But I won't be showing that in this video because I have a long enough strip for this pouch. And you'll also need some batting, wadding, interface, whatever you want to use. I'm using this is like a medium loft batting. This is just what I had on hand, like that was quick and easy for me to cut out. So usually at my batting I have a little bit bigger than the fabric we're going to be putting on it. I don't know why, that's how I've always been doing it. So typically when I cut my batting I have it just a little bit bigger than the main fabric. But yeah, and then you'll need a zipper. I use zipper tape. If you don't have zipper tape and you just have a pre-made zipper, that's totally fine, but try to make sure that it is at least, I would say at least 10 inches. I believe I cut this at 10 inches. Yeah, 10 inches long. And then a zipper head for the zipper tape. So yeah, and that is about it. You for sure need some binding clips and some pins. And then I use basting spray or tacky spray. This is just what I had on hand to add the fabric onto the batting so it doesn't move around while we're quilting it. But we're gonna get started. So first we want to at least prepare the strips. So we're going to prepare the binding strips and the ruffle strip. So I'm gonna set these pieces aside for right now. The binding strip we're going to fold in half and we're going to press it down, and that's it for both binding strips. So you basically are just gonna take both and press these 2 pieces down just so they're folded and ready for when we get to that step. I'll press those in a sec. So for the ruffle strip, we're going to basically do exactly what we just did with the zipper binding. We're gonna fold this in half all the way down. So the whole strip we're going to fold in half and press, and you want to fold in half with the wrong sides together. I probably should have prefaced that. So the wrong sides together as well on the zipper binding. So you want the right sides to be out. So as for me, this is basically the same on both sides. There's not really a pretty or a bad side. So that's probably why I forgot. But we're gonna fold this in half and press it all the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick off camera, and then I'll come right back to show you the rest of the steps. Okay, I went ahead and pressed down my zipper bindings. So there should be like a nice crease on the inside, and they're folded in half. I did both of those, and then I went ahead and folded the ruffle strip in half as well, and I pressed it. So there should be a crease right on the inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each end of the ruffle strip, and we're going to open it up And we're gonna fold this end in about 1/2 inch or an inch. I probably sometimes just go in for almost an inch, almost not an inch. I just eyeball it. It's terrible for me to say, but it's true. And I'll just take my finger and press that down. You can take your iron and press it down if you like, and just create a little crease. And I'm gonna open this up, and then there should be a crease here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take each corner. I'm going to basically line this triangle up with the crease we just made, just like so. I'm gonna press that with my finger, that way I don't have to grab my iron. And do the same thing for the other side. And then like so. So your end should look something like this. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this back to where we fold it in the first place, that first crease here. Press that down, and then we're going to fold this back in half. So now that raw edge on the end is hidden within this strip. I know, it's silly. I'm also going to say that this is one way to make a ruffle strip. If you have a different way to make it, I would go ahead and do that if you feel more comfortable doing something else. This is just a way that I kind of figured out on my machine. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do it. So it looks a little funky now, but it will turn into a ruffle, promise. So I'm gonna go ahead and repeat that on this side. Just gonna fold it. It's about 1/2 inch-ish. You know, like I said, I eyeball it. Probably not the best thing, but I do it anyway. Open it up, that crease. I'm going to take each corner and fold it to meet that crease. Ooh. Like so. Fold it in. Repress that with my finger, and then I'm going to fold this back up. And I just use a binding clip to hold it in place, so when I get to my machine, it doesn't unravel. So there you have it. We just prepped our ruffle strip, and now we're gonna go ahead and make the ruffle. So I'm gonna move you over to my sewing machine to show you how I do it. Okay, I'm at my machine now, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start on the whatever end you want. Does not matter. It really doesn't matter which end you start on. And I'm going to set my machine settings to the highest tension that is available. So mine is a 9, and then I'm going to increase my stitch length to a 5. And then I'm going to sew along the raw edge of this strip at a 1/8 of an inch seam. So you want the stitch to be at as closest to the raw edge as you possibly can. So I'm just gonna move my needle over because that's what I do. I cheat the system here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. And we're just gonna go for it. I try to go slow in the beginning, and that way I can catch the ruffle because it's gonna start ruffling in the back here. So I'm unsure if you can see that. Let me see if I can show you. So it's already starting to ruffle. And if your stitch setting does not go up to a 5, what you can do is you can hold your thread tight on the top where your thread is feeding and hold it tight, pull it tight rather, and it will help gather the fabric. So I'm going to continue this all the way down. So you should see how the ruffle is gathering. Super cute. I'm obsessed with this method. I'm just gonna pull that thread and cut it. Ooh. So you should have a ruffle strip, something like this. It looks kind of funky and frilly. It almost looks like a scrunchie, like a hair tie, but that is basically what you are looking for. It's just a ruffle edge strip type thing. So we're gonna go ahead and get the pouch ready. All right, so now our ruffle is done. We're gonna go ahead and prep the pouch. So the first step you're gonna want to do is try to put your baste spray. Baste spray, is that how you say it? I don't even know. I use the basting spray to put my main fabric on the batting. If you don't have basting spray or tacky spray, you can always just pin it in place or just hope for the best that it doesn't move around too much. When you're quilting lines and stuff, it does tend to move, and I'm not a fan of that. So I just put some spray on there and then I place it right on my batting. So I'm gonna repeat that on both sides. Like so. And I probably should have said this in the beginning of the video, but I usually use a heat removal type pen to make quilt lines. So I'm gonna make some quilt lines using my little ruler here on my fabric. If you don't want to do this step, you don't have to. I just do it so I can have at least something to follow, because I'm not a straight person. Nor are my lines ever straight. I usually use a squiggle stitch on my quilted items. It's just become my favorite stitch, special stitch to use on my machine. So I'm just gonna mark a line down vertically about an inch apart, and then I'm going to quilt within those lines. So this line did not come out that great. So let me redo that one. Let's see, there it goes. And they don't have to be too perfect. I'm not a perfectionist by any means. I like to have fun with these things. So if your lines aren't perfect or straight or whatever the case is, that's totally fine. I think it's just the process that should be fun, and you shouldn't be too overly critical of how straight your work is. I had to learn that with sewing. So I'm just making these quilt lines so that when I get to the machine, I can do it. All right, now that the main fabric is on the batting and I have my quilt lines, I'm gonna take this to my machine. I'm gonna quilt whatever I want to. You can quilt as desired. You can make checkers, you can make diamonds, you can do whatever. You can do a freehand crazy thing, but I keep it pretty simple with just vertical squiggle lines. And then I'm gonna do that and then I'll report back. I went ahead and quilted both of my pieces, so I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera. Yeah, you can see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim these pieces down to the measurements shown on here on the screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we can go on to the next step. Now that your quilted pieces are trimmed down to the correct size, we're gonna go ahead and prep the binding and the liner. So we're gonna flip one of these pieces over where the batting is facing you, and we're gonna place a liner piece right on top and just line up, making sure that it's correct, the right size. So basically the pouch is wider, not taller, so I work on the longer edge of the pouch. And then we're going to take one of our binding strips and line up where that fold is, where the raw edge is, up on the top edge, just like so. And you can pin or clip this in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam of these raw edges down. And then we're going to repeat that for the other side. So I'm going to prep this other side as well. I have hair stuck on there. I don't even know if you can see it on camera. There's hair on that padding. And line those up. Put a binding strip where it's folded open. You want the fold with it in the pouch and the raw edge out. I hope that makes sense. I probably should say too that I am new to this. I'm new to sewing, so trying to explain certain things is kind of funny. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this in my machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam here right on the top. And I'll be right back. All right, I went ahead and sewed my 1/4 inch seam on both of these. So you have a liner piece, the main piece, and the liner piece was supposed to be facing up, like pretty side up. I was assuming that you guys knew that, but I probably should have said the pretty side up. And then now we're going to flip this over, and we're going to fold this binding over the top to cover up that raw edge. And I usually just line it up to the, oops, sorry, I don't know if I'm in frame. There you go. Line it up right up to where that seam is, like the stitch. And I'm going to sew along the edge of this binding. So I'm just going to clip it in place so I know that it's where I want to sew it down. And yes, my binding strip is a little longer. I do this on purpose just because I want to make sure that it's long enough. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. So I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Flip it over, flip the binding strip over to cover up that seam. I'm going to clip this in place. Then I'm going to sew along the edge of this binding strip to put it on. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll be right back. Okay, once you have your binding all attached on both pieces, this is what they should look like. You should have a liner on the back side with the pretty side up and the main fabric that is quilted with the zipper bindings. I went ahead and trimmed the excess off the sides. So I already did that off camera. And then now we're going to add the ruffle. So the ruffle is only added onto one of these pieces, and we're going to separate, I have thread everywhere. We're going to separate the liner and the main fabric like so. And then we're going to grab our ruffle strip and we're going to basically pin or clip it in place. So you want the like the raw edge to be towards the raw edge, and you want the ruffle to be towards the inside. So when you clip it in place, we want the folded edge, I guess, towards the inside of the pouch. You don't want to clip it in like this or it's not going to show. So you want to do on the inside. So I'm going to grab some clips here. I'm going to take one end of the ruffle strip. I don't know if I want to cut this off. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I get nervous. And I'm going to line up the ruffle strip to the bottom end of that binding strip. So just one end of the ruffle strip, line it up right below the binding strip. I'm going to clip that in place. And I'm going to do that to the other side as well, but I'm going to try to untwist this. That way I don't have to undo anything. Make sure it's not all twisted. And I'm going to clip the other side. Just like I did over there. I want to have it underneath the binding strip, like so. So far this is what I've got. And I have like loose thread everywhere. So the ruffle strip should be a little bit bigger, like around the circumference, and that's totally fine. You're just gonna kind of bunch it up the best you can. And I line up the raw edges to the raw edge of the pouch, and I just kind of clip it in place. I just try my best to make sure that it's going around the entire thing. And at the corner, I just do like a little turn. I don't worry too much about hitting the corner. But you just want to make sure that the ruffle strip is nice and straight. If you have to pull it a little bit, I would do that. Sometimes I have to like stretch it out a little bit or gather it up a little bit in some places. So you just want these edges to line up and try not to get it all twisted like I just did. There it goes. And I use a bunch of binding clips for this, just so it doesn't come apart when I bring it to the sewing machine. See right here, I just need a little bit more fabric, so I'm gonna try to push and tug a little bit here. That way it's nice and even on all sides. Ta-da! So I went ahead and added my ruffle strip onto the main fabric. So it should be pretty straight on all of the raw edges except for the corners. The corners I don't, like I said, don't really worry about it too much. Hitting the corner. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew about 1/8 of an inch seam. So basically I try to get my sewing machine to just stitch right on top of whatever we stitched on the ruffle. Just do the best you can. I normally can't catch it all the time, but I do my best. And we're just gonna sew around, and then we're going to attach the zipper after the fact. So let's go ahead and put this on and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and added the ruffle strip onto the front of the main fabric on one of the sides, or one of whatever you want to call it. I did my best and try to get it right on the stitch I used for the ruffle. I don't think I nailed it too great on some pieces, but that's totally fine. These are handmade. They are not meant to be perfect, okay? Try to encourage everyone that it's okay if some things are a little weird. And yes, it may fray a lot like this. I don't know if your fabric does this, but yeah, it's gonna look like that. It's gonna look kind of funny. So now we're going to attach our zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and just do one side at a time, and I'm going to basically put the zipper on the back, I guess that's how you would say it. And I'm going to go on my sewing machine. And yes, your zipper is gonna be longer. This is very intentional. And I'm going to sew just right along the edge of this binding onto the zipper. And then I'm going to repeat onto the other side. I'll try my best to line it up perfectly. If it's not lined up perfectly, I can always just take the zipper apart, but wish me luck. I'm going to go ahead and sew this down and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and attached one side onto the zipper. So this is what mine looks like. I tried my best to get it right up to the edge of that binding strip. I try not to switch out my zipper, like not my zipper foot. I try not to switch out the presser foot to the zipper foot because that's just a lot of work. So I'm gonna try my best and see if I could get this to line up. And I just clip it in place. That way it's like even. If not, I'll just take the zipper apart. But I'm gonna try my best to get these right even. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this side too. It looks like I nailed it. So pretty even on both sides. So the zipper is pretty even. I'm gonna go ahead and feed my zipper head through. So I just tear the tape apart just a little bit. And I feed the zipper head through. It's like a little hand workout. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up just a little bit, like halfway, just so we could flip the work inside out. So from here, I'm actually going to just try to trim off some of these thread pieces so they're not always like in the way. So from here, we're going to take both of our main pieces and clip those together, right sides facing, and then we're going to flip it and grab the liner pieces and clip these together as well. You want all your edges to line up, and I'll start with this side. It's the harder side because the ruffle edge kind of like shrinks it just a smidge. It feels like I have to like kind of stretch it a little bit to get the corners to line up. There you go. And then you want the zipper teeth, like the way it's folded, to be inside the liner piece. Like you don't want it to be on the outside. So you want it to be folded into the liner piece. And sometimes I'll just open this up just a little bit more, just so I could make sure it's folded towards the liner piece. And I'm going to, I probably should have trimmed these zipper teeth off. Might as well just do that now so they're not in my way when I'm trying to show you. I normally don't. Okay, so I'm going to line up those binding strips, and the zipper teeth is folded within the liner. And I'm going to clip that and do the same thing to the other side. Totally should have trimmed these off when I had it open. Oops. Still a newbie here. Okay, we're gonna line the binding up and the liner pieces up. And I'm gonna just clip that in place. That way it doesn't move around. Probably should have grabbed the bigger binding clip. There it goes. And then we're gonna line up the liner pieces. Make sure they're all even. There it goes. All right, we're almost done, kids. And so from here, we're gonna sew around the pouch, but we're gonna leave an opening on the liner side. So I leave about like maybe a 2-inch opening. So I start sewing from right over here. I go around and then I stop right over here. So I'm gonna just leave an opening. That way we can feed our hand through and feed the pouch out of that hole, and then we'll close the hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew around at a 1/4 inch seam, and I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and sewed around the pouch with a 1/4 inch seam. I went really slow on top of my zippers, and I also backstitched it a bit. That way it would stay. And from here, I actually kind of trimmed this a little bit, like the little zipper part. That way it's not so bulky on the top. You don't have to do this. I just started doing it to see if it would like create less bulk around the zipper. And yeah, it does a little bit. So from here, we're gonna just go in from the liner part where that opening is that we left. And we're going to try your best to get the main fabric through, flip it right side out. And then I like to punch out my corners as best as I can. And I don't want to pull anything just in case we have to flip it back inside out, or whatever you want to say it. I had to do that in my first few pouches. I had to re-sew the ends down. Perfect. So there you have it. My corners are punched out. Do the same for the top. Unzip my zipper a little bit. All right. So there you have it. And now I'm going to punch the corners out in my liner. That way they're nice and crisp. And I'm gonna just try my best to fold these ends in from the opening in. And then I'm gonna top stitch this closed very carefully so it's nice, and so it doesn't say open within the pouch. Oh man, I'm sleepy today, so my words are a little all over the place. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that shut, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and closed that opening up, and I'm going to just put the liner inside of the pouch. And there you have it. The pouch is done. And I just close it. Voila! So cute. It's so cute. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Yeah, I hope this tutorial helped you a bit. Like I said, I do have a written pattern for it. It will be available on my Etsy. Just in case you don't want to refer to this video every time you want to make one. But yeah, figured this would be good for visual purposes too, for a written pattern. I hope yours turned out super cute. If you have any questions, you can always comment here on the video, or you can send me an email or contact me on Instagram, whichever. I will be happy to help you. Again, I am still a beginner, so this is just so new to me, but I was like, I had so much fun making this, I might as well just share it with you guys. So yeah, this is my finished pouch. I can't wait to see yours. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.